In life, we face countless distractions, temptations, and challenges. Yet, in the teachings of Stoicism, we are reminded that consistency in our actions is the foundation of true strength. To live a life of purpose, we must force ourselves to be consistent, regardless of external circumstances. In life, we are faced with endless challenges, uncertainties, and external factors beyond our control. Stoicism, a philosophy rooted in wisdom and practicality, offers a powerful framework for navigating these challenges. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the idea of controlling what you can and accepting what you cannot. This mindset helps cultivate inner peace and resilience, allowing us to live with a sense of purpose and stability, regardless of the external circumstances. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the distinction between what is in our control and what is not. The Stoics believe that we should focus only on our thoughts, actions, and responses. Everything else, external events, the opinions of others, the passage of time, and the randomness of the world is outside of our domain. The Stoics teach that the key to a tranquil life lies in embracing this distinction. By focusing on what we can control, we empower ourselves to make meaningful progress, while simultaneously letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable. The first step in practicing this principle is recognizing that our reactions are within our control. We may not be able to prevent challenges from arising, but we have the power to choose how we respond to them. For instance, imagine you encounter an unexpected setback, a lost opportunity, a failed project, or an argument with a loved one. While you cannot change the event itself, you can control your attitude toward it. The Stoics suggest that we should view obstacles not as insurmountable problems, but as opportunities for growth and self-improvement. By reframing our perception of adversity, we regain our sense of agency. Instead of being at the mercy of circumstances, we take responsibility for our emotional responses and reactions. Moreover, the Stoics encourage us to recognize the limits of our influence over the world around us. We often waste energy trying to control things that are beyond our reach, such as the behavior of others or the outcome of certain events. This desire for control can lead to frustration, anxiety, and suffering. By accepting that we cannot control everything, we free ourselves from the burden of unnecessary worry. Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By internalizing this idea, we realize that the key to happiness lies not in manipulating the world to fit our desires, but in adapting our mindset to the world as it is. In practice, controlling what we can involves cultivating a sense of discipline and self-mastery. It means taking ownership of our thoughts, our actions, and our decisions. Each day we are faced with choices: how we spend our time, how we treat others, how we manage our emotions. While we cannot control the weather, the economy, or other people's actions, we can control how we show up in the world. We can choose to be kind, patient, and focused. We can choose to approach each task with integrity and diligence, regardless of the external circumstances. This focus on self-control is empowering because it places us in the driver's seat of our lives. Acceptance of what we cannot control is not about passivity or resignation. It is about surrendering to reality and embracing the present moment. The Stoics encourage us to accept that life is unpredictable, and not everything will unfold according to our plans. When we try to force outcomes or resist what is happening, we create unnecessary tension within ourselves. Acceptance is about finding peace in the face of uncertainty and letting go of our attachment to specific results. This doesn't mean we stop striving or that we abandon our goals. Instead, it means we learn to detach from the outcome and focus on what we can influence: the process itself. By internalizing this Stoic principle, we learn to find freedom in our actions. We stop fighting against reality and instead align ourselves with it. This alignment allows us to move through life with greater ease and less friction. We become less reactive to external events, more adaptable to change, and better able to maintain our composure during difficult times. As a result, we cultivate a deeper sense of resilience and inner peace. In conclusion, the Stoic principle of controlling what we can and accepting what we cannot is a powerful tool for living a fulfilling life. By focusing on our thoughts, actions, and responses, we take back control over our experience. And by accepting the uncontrollable aspects of life, we free ourselves from unnecessary struggle and suffering. Through this practice, we cultivate a sense of peace, purpose, and strength that allows us to navigate the complexities of life with grace and wisdom. In the end, it is not the external world that shapes our happiness, but the way in which we choose to engage with it. In the journey of personal growth, many people find themselves at the mercy of motivation. They wait for that burst of energy or inspiration to push them forward. But Stoic philosophy teaches us a crucial lesson. True progress comes not from motivation, which is fleeting and unpredictable, but from discipline and unwavering commitment to action regardless of how we feel in the moment. Motivation, by its very nature, is temporary. It comes in waves, often driven by external circumstances, a moment of clarity, or a burst of emotion. It can be a powerful force when it's present, driving us to achieve our goals, tackle new challenges, and push beyond our limits. However, as the Stoics would argue, relying solely on motivation is a path to inconsistency and frustration. Motivation can disappear as quickly as it arrives, and when it fades, we are left with a lack of direction and progress. In contrast, discipline is a far more reliable and enduring force. Discipline is the act of doing what needs to be done, not because it's easy or exciting, but because it is the right thing to do. It's about sticking to your commitments even when enthusiasm wanes or when external circumstances don't align with your plans. It is a constant, daily effort that builds over time, creating momentum and forging a path to success, no matter the obstacles you face. The Stoics recognize that the path to a virtuous life and inner peace lies not in chasing fleeting feelings of motivation but in developing consistent, disciplined actions. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often wrote about the importance of maintaining focus on one's duties, even when things are difficult. In his meditations, he emphasizes the importance of waking up each day with purpose and commitment, no matter the distractions or the discomforts of the day ahead. For Marcus, consistency in one's actions, regardless of personal emotions or external events, is the essence of living a good life. In practical terms, this means creating habits that align with our values and sticking to them, even when we don't feel like it. It's easy to say you'll go for a run when you're feeling energized and motivated, but discipline is what keeps you running even when you're tired, stressed, or distracted. It's the small daily choices that accumulate over time, leading to long-term success. As Epictetus, one of the central figures of Stoicism, put it, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True freedom comes from mastery over your actions, not from waiting for motivation to dictate them. Discipline also helps us avoid the traps of procrastination and indecision. It builds resilience, teaching us to persevere in the face of challenges. When we rely solely on motivation, we are prone to waiting for the right moment or the perfect conditions to take action. But in reality, the right moment rarely comes. The world doesn't always present us with favorable circumstances, and motivation won't always show up when we need it most. Discipline, on the other hand, compels us to act regardless of external conditions. It teaches us to find value in the process, not just in the result. Another vital aspect of discipline is its role in building self-control and focus. Without discipline, it's easy to be swept away by distractions, external pressures, or our own fleeting desires. But with discipline, we develop the ability to stay on track, even when the world around us is chaotic. The Stoics viewed self-control as a cornerstone of wisdom and virtue. By exercising discipline, we become more deliberate in our choices and more intentional in how we spend our time and energy. Furthermore, discipline is the foundation of growth. It is through consistent effort that we improve and refine our skills, knowledge, and character. It's easy to get caught up in the desire for immediate results or quick success, but the Stoic approach reminds us that progress is often slow and incremental. It's the daily, small actions that compound and create meaningful change. Whether it's working on a craft, learning a new skill, or improving our physical health, discipline ensures that we stay committed to the process and continue to improve, even when the results aren't immediately visible. In Stoic thought, The focus on discipline over motivation also teaches us to be detached from outcomes. Instead of chasing after rewards or waiting for success to validate our actions, discipline allows us to find satisfaction in the act of doing itself. This mindset aligns with the Stoic belief that our happiness does not come from external achievements or recognition, but from living in accordance with virtue and reason. In conclusion, while motivation is a powerful and necessary force at times, it is discipline that will carry us through the long haul. Discipline allows us to show up consistently, do the work, and stay focused on our values and goals, even when motivation fades or challenges arise. The Stoic philosophers understood that true strength comes from within, from the ability to act with purpose, regardless of how we feel in the moment. By prioritizing discipline over motivation, we create a foundation for success that is built on consistency, resilience, and integrity. In doing so, we free ourselves from the unpredictability of motivation and unlock our true potential. In the modern world, we often seek comfort and ease. We look for shortcuts, ways to avoid hardship, and a life where struggles are minimal. Yet, Stoic philosophy offers a radically different perspective. The Stoics teach us that struggle, hardship, and adversity are not to be avoided but embraced. The true strength of a person is not revealed in moments of ease, but in the way they respond to challenges. To embrace the struggle is to see it as a natural and necessary part of life, one that shapes us, refines us, and ultimately leads to growth and virtue. The Stoics understood that life is unpredictable and often difficult. It is filled with obstacles, pain, and suffering, and no one is immune to this reality. Yet, rather than seeing these difficulties as burdens, they viewed them as opportunities to cultivate resilience, inner strength, and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers and Roman emperors, often wrote about the importance of facing adversity with a calm mind and a courageous heart. In his meditations, he reminds himself that obstacles are not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be met with resolve. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This mindset is transformative. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles that stand in the way of our happiness or success, we begin to see them as the very thing that drives us forward. Every struggle becomes a chance to prove our character, to test our limits, and to grow stronger. In this light, we begin to welcome discomfort because we understand that it is the forge in which our virtues are shaped. Embracing the struggle also means accepting that we cannot control everything. Life is inherently unpredictable, and things don't always go according to plan. The Stoics teach us to accept this fact, to let go of our desire to control the uncontrollable, and to focus on how we respond to the challenges that arise. This is where true strength lies, not in avoiding struggle, but in learning to handle it with grace, calm, and wisdom. As Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The struggle is inevitable, but how we engage with it is entirely within our power. By embracing struggle, we also learn to detach ourselves from the desire for immediate gratification or instant results. Modern culture often pushes us to seek quick rewards and avoid discomfort, but the Stoics understood that real fulfillment comes from the process itself. It's not about the destination. It's about how we navigate the journey. The discomfort we experience in struggle is not something to escape from, but something to lean into, because it teaches us perseverance, patience, and fortitude. The more we face and endure hardship, the more we build the inner strength necessary to tackle even greater challenges in the future. Another important aspect of embracing the struggle is understanding that adversity is what shapes our character. It is through struggle that we learn who we truly are. In times of ease, it is easy to be complacent, to let our virtues go untested. But when we face adversity, our virtues, our patience, courage, resilience, and integrity are called into action. It is through these challenges that we are able to cultivate a deeper sense of who we are and what we stand for. In a way, hardship is the mirror in which we see our true selves reflected. The struggle allows us to identify our weaknesses and work to overcome them, transforming us into stronger, more capable individuals. Furthermore, the Stoics believed that by embracing struggle, we become better equipped to help others. The hardships we face in our own lives give us a deeper empathy and understanding for the struggles of others. We learn not to pity those who suffer, but to support them with wisdom and compassion. Through our own struggles, we develop the strength and the perspective to lift others up, offering them the same resilience we have cultivated within ourselves. The idea of embracing struggle also ties into the Stoic belief in living according to nature. Nature is not always gentle or kind. It can be harsh, unforgiving, and relentless. But it is in navigating these challenges that we find our purpose. Just as a tree grows stronger by withstanding the wind and storms, we too grow stronger by facing the difficulties life throws at us. The Stoics understood that struggle is part of the human experience, and rather than avoiding it, we should accept it as an essential part of our growth and development. In conclusion, embracing the struggle is at the core of Stoic philosophy. Life will always present us with challenges, hardships, and obstacles. Rather than resisting them, we must learn to embrace them, recognizing that it is through struggle that we build our strength, resilience, and wisdom. By accepting that we cannot control the external world but can control our responses, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and cultivate a sense of inner peace. Struggle is not our enemy. It is our greatest teacher. Through it, we are forged into the best versions of ourselves, capable of facing any challenge that comes our way. In a world filled with distractions, competing demands, and external pressures, it can be easy to lose sight of who we truly are and what we truly stand for. Stoicism, with its emphasis on virtue and living a life in alignment with nature and reason, teaches us the importance of aligning our actions with our deepest values. It's not enough to simply know what we believe in. We must actively live in accordance with those beliefs every day. To align our actions with our values is to lead a life of integrity, authenticity, and purpose, and it is through this alignment that we find true peace and fulfillment. The Stoics understood that our actions reflect our character. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflects on the importance of living according to reason and virtue, regardless of the external circumstances. For the Stoic, values such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance are not abstract ideals but practical guides for everyday living. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus would ask his students to consider how their actions aligned with their values and principles, encouraging them to live with intention rather than simply reacting to life's circumstances. The first step in aligning our actions with our values is identifying what those values are. In a world that constantly bombards us with external influences, it's easy to adopt values based on the opinions of others, societal norms, or the expectations placed upon us. But to live authentically, we must reflect deeply on what matters most to us. What do we truly value in life? Is it integrity, kindness, responsibility, or the pursuit of knowledge? It is essential to take the time to define our core values and be clear about the guiding principles that shape our decisions and behaviors. Once we've identified our values, the next step is to ensure that our actions reflect them. This means making conscious choices in our daily lives that align with what we hold dear. It's not enough to simply declare our values. We must embody them in our behavior, decisions, and interactions. For example, if we value kindness, we must consistently choose to treat others with compassion and empathy, even in difficult situations. If we value honesty, we must be truthful in all of our dealings, regardless of the potential discomfort or consequences. In this way, living according to our values requires continuous self-awareness and discipline. The Stoics believe that external circumstances do not determine our happiness or peace. Instead, it is how we respond to those circumstances that shapes our experience. This means that we cannot allow the world's chaos or the opinions of others to dictate our actions. Our values must be our anchor, guiding us through the storms of life. When we are faced with difficult choices or challenging situations, we should ask ourselves, does this action align with my values? If not, we must find the strength and courage to choose differently. Aligning our actions with our values also means being consistent. It's easy to act in alignment with our values when things are going well. But true integrity is shown when we maintain our principles in times of adversity. The Stoics teach us that we must not be fair-weather virtue seekers. In difficult moments when emotions are high and external pressures are great, it is even more important to stand firm in our values. If we value courage, for example, we must face our fears with resolve, even when it seems easier to avoid them. If we value justice, we must speak up for what is right, even when it is unpopular or difficult. Living in alignment with our values also requires us to confront the contradictions in our lives. Often we may say that we value one thing, but our actions reflect something else entirely. For example, we may claim to value health, but our habits such as eating poorly or avoiding exercise tell a different story. This disconnect between our values and actions is a source of inner conflict and dissatisfaction. By acknowledging these contradictions, we can begin to make changes in our behavior that bring us back into alignment with our true values. It is an ongoing process of self-examination and improvement, one that requires honesty and courage. Furthermore, aligning our actions with our values allows us to lead a life of purpose. When our actions are driven by what we truly believe in, we are no longer merely reacting to external events. We are actively creating the life we want to live. This sense of agency and direction gives us a deeper sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, as we know that our actions are contributing to something greater than ourselves. The Stoics believed that living in accordance with virtue is the highest form of human flourishing, and through this alignment, we find meaning and fulfillment, no matter what external achievements or recognition we may or may not receive. In conclusion, to align our actions with our values is to live a life of integrity, authenticity, and purpose. It is through this alignment that we achieve true peace, as we no longer experience the inner conflict that arises when our actions contradict our beliefs. The Stoics remind us that our character is shaped by our daily choices, and by living according to our deepest values, we cultivate a life of wisdom, courage, and virtue. It is not enough to merely talk about our values. We must live them, day in and day out, through every action and decision. When we do so, we not only create a life of meaning, but we also find the strength to weather the challenges of life with grace and resilience. In the pursuit of personal growth and mastery, one of the most powerful tools we have is repetition. While many seek immediate results or breakthroughs, true strength, whether physical, mental, or emotional, is built over time through consistent effort. The Stoics understood this fundamental principle, recognizing that it is not rare moments of brilliance that shape us, but the repeated actions we take day in and day out. The power of repetition lies in its ability to ingrain habits, refine skills, and cultivate resilience, all of which are essential for living a life of virtue and purpose. Repetition is often dismissed as monotonous or unremarkable, but it is through repeated actions that we grow stronger, more disciplined, and more capable. Whether we are training our body, our mind, or our character, repetition is the process by which we ingrain positive behaviors, strengthen our resolve, and sharpen our focus. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus encouraged his students to engage in regular practices that built their moral character and mental resilience. He understood that discipline, patience, and wisdom were not developed in fleeting moments of inspiration, but through sustained effort and repetition. In a physical sense, repetition is the foundation of strength training. Athletes, fitness enthusiasts, and martial artists all understand that the key to improvement lies in the consistent repetition of exercises, drills, and techniques. Each rep, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, contributes to the gradual buildup of muscle, endurance, and coordination. In the same way, our mental and emotional strength grows through repeated efforts to develop positive habits and responses. Just as the body strengthens with regular exercise, the mind grows sharper with consistent practice of focus, self-control, and rational thinking. The Stoics emphasized the importance of daily routines and habits in the cultivation of virtue. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often wrote about the value of returning to one's daily duties and practices, regardless of external circumstances. His philosophy encouraged consistency in thought, action, and reflection. By consistently practicing virtues such as wisdom, courage, and justice, we slowly transform our character, reinforcing our capacity to respond virtuously in any situation. Through repetition, we train ourselves to act in alignment with our values, making virtuous behavior a natural and automatic response. Repetition also builds resilience, particularly in the face of adversity. The Stoics believed that hardship and difficulty are inevitable parts of life, but how we respond to these challenges is within our control. When we repeatedly expose ourselves to discomfort and challenges, we strengthen our ability to endure and persevere. For example, learning to tolerate physical discomfort, such as through exercise or fasting, trains our minds to withstand mental and emotional discomfort. The more we face difficult situations head-on and persist through them, the more resilient we become. It is through repeated encounters with adversity that we cultivate the inner strength needed to maintain our peace of mind, even in the most challenging circumstances. Consistency and repetition also fosters growth by developing a deep sense of self-mastery. Each action we take, when repeated with intentionality, teaches us discipline. When we commit to a routine or practice, whether it's meditation, journaling, or a particular goal, we are essentially engaging in a form of self-training. This is not just about performing a task over and over, but about developing the willpower and focus to stay committed to that task, regardless of external distractions or inner resistance. The more we practice self-discipline, the more we reinforce our ability to direct our energy and attention toward what matters most, regardless of fleeting desires or impulses. Furthermore, repetition can help us to internalize important lessons and concepts. Learning, whether it's intellectual or emotional, requires consistent engagement. Just as we cannot learn to play an instrument by practicing once a week, we cannot cultivate wisdom or emotional resilience by engaging in philosophical reflection only occasionally. The Stoics understood that knowledge and self-awareness were cultivated through constant reflection and introspection. Repeatedly examining our thoughts, behaviors, and responses allows us to see patterns, uncover biases, and refine our approach to life. Over time, these repeated efforts to understand ourselves and our reactions lead to greater clarity, insight, and wisdom. One of the key aspects of repetition, according to Stoic thought, is that it builds a sense of control. Life is unpredictable, and external events often feel chaotic or beyond our influence. However, by consistently practicing certain virtues, behaviors, and disciplines, we create a sense of mastery over our inner world. We can't control the winds of fate, but we can control how we sail our ship. Through repetition, we regain control over our own thoughts and actions, making us less reactive to the uncontrollable aspects of life and more proactive in how we engage with the world. Additionally, repetition instills a sense of purpose and direction. When we repeatedly engage in practices aligned with our values and goals, we begin to see how our efforts accumulate over time, contributing to our larger purpose. Progress may seem slow or imperceptible in the short term, but through consistent effort, we eventually reach milestones that would have seemed impossible at the start. This is the essence of personal growth: small, steady steps forward, each one reinforcing the next. In conclusion, repetition is not merely a means to an end. It is the process by which we build strength, resilience, and character. The Stoic philosophers understood that greatness is achieved not in dramatic, isolated moments, but through the consistent practice of virtue, discipline, and self-reflection. Repetition shapes us in ways that are often invisible in the moment, but its effects are cumulative. By committing to consistent practice in all areas of our lives, we create the conditions for lasting growth and transformation. Each repeated action, no matter how small, brings us closer to becoming the best version of ourselves. In the pursuit of personal growth, it's essential to not only take action but to pause, reflect, and adjust our approach as needed. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on wisdom and self-awareness, teaches us that life is a continuous process of learning, adapting, and improving. To reflect and adjust is to engage in a process of ongoing self-examination, where we assess our actions, review our progress, and make intentional changes to better align our behaviors with our values and goals. This practice is not just about recognizing what's wrong, but about understanding ourselves more deeply and refining our approach to life. The importance of reflection is embedded in Stoic thought, where daily reflection was considered a vital part of cultivating wisdom and virtue. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, dedicated much of his life to self-reflection, writing down his thoughts, struggles, and observations in his meditations. His writings serve as a guide for those seeking to live according to Stoic principles, reminding us to regularly evaluate our thoughts and actions in light of the virtues we wish to embody. Reflection allows us to review our experiences, learn from them, and adjust our approach for greater clarity and purpose. One of the key reasons reflection is so powerful is that it helps us avoid complacency. Without pausing to reflect, it's easy to fall into a routine, simply going through the motions of life without truly considering whether we're progressing in the right direction. Life becomes a series of reactive actions instead of intentional choices. Stoicism teaches us to be intentional with our actions and decisions, and that requires regular self-assessment. By reflecting on our daily experiences, we gain insight into our strengths and weaknesses, our successes and failures. This self-awareness is the foundation upon which we can make better decisions and take more deliberate actions. Reflection also helps us to learn from our mistakes and grow from our challenges. In a world that often encourages perfectionism and the avoidance of failure, the Stoic perspective is refreshing. Rather than fearing mistakes or setbacks, Stoics believe in embracing them as opportunities for learning. Every experience, whether positive or negative, carries a lesson. The key is to reflect on these experiences and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? What can I do better next time? When we approach life with this mindset, we begin to view challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities to improve and refine our actions. By regularly reflecting on our experiences, we gain the ability to adjust our approach and make wiser, more informed choices moving forward. Adjusting, however, isn't just about fixing what went wrong. It's also about reinforcing what's working. Reflection helps us to identify our successes, no matter how small, and recognize the positive patterns in our behavior. When we notice something that is bringing us closer to our goals, whether it's a productive habit, a shift in mindset, or a positive relationship, we can make a conscious effort to repeat those actions and integrate them more deeply into our lives. Stoics believed in focusing on what we can control, and adjusting our behavior based on our reflections is one of the most effective ways to exert control over our lives. By repeating positive actions and reinforcing positive habits, we align ourselves more closely with our values and increase our capacity to thrive. Another important aspect of reflection and adjustment is the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Life is dynamic, and what works for us at one point in time may no longer serve us as we grow or as situations change. The Stoics taught that we must remain flexible and adaptable in the face of life's unpredictability. Our goals, approaches, and actions must evolve as we do. If something no longer aligns with our values or isn't yielding the results we desire, it's essential to adjust our course. Reflection provides the space to assess the current state of our lives and determine whether our current approach is still the best one. By being willing to make adjustments, we ensure that we stay on track and continue to move forward, even as the circumstances around us shift. Reflection and adjustment also strengthen our resilience. When we encounter setbacks or face difficult challenges, it's easy to become discouraged or overwhelmed. However, by reflecting on the situation, we can gain perspective and remind ourselves that difficulties are not permanent. We can use these moments of adversity as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. Adjusting our mindset, our approach, or our expectations can help us navigate through challenges with more grace and determination. The ability to adjust, rather than becoming rigid or defeated, is what allows us to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward with renewed energy and purpose. Furthermore, the practice of reflection and adjustment fosters continuous improvement. In Stoic thought, the pursuit of virtue is a lifelong journey. We are not perfect, and we will never fully master all virtues. But by consistently reflecting on our actions and adjusting our behaviors, we can strive to become the best version of ourselves. Each day offers a new opportunity to refine our character and improve our responses to the world around us. It's a process of constant learning and growth, where we acknowledge our imperfections, learn from them, and strive to make better choices moving forward. In conclusion, the practice of reflecting and adjusting is essential for personal growth and self-mastery. By regularly examining our actions and choices, we gain valuable insight into our behavior, strengths, and areas for improvement. Reflection allows us to learn from our experiences, embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, and adjust our approach to stay aligned with our values and goals. It is through this ongoing process of self-assessment and adjustment that we cultivate wisdom, resilience, and the ability to live a life of purpose and meaning. The Stoic teachings remind us that growth is not a one-time event, but a continuous journey, one that requires us to pause, reflect, and adjust our course along the way.